Hello, this is your narrator, and welcome to Mythos History. The multiverse is roughly separated into two categories. One like ours, where no gods really exist and we only have faith. But the other half, the gods are very much real and interact with the people that lives in their world. Which brings us to an interesting question. What would you do for love? Would you hunt down one of these gods or not? We have one story where one such person did that exact thing. This is the story of Scars on Face. Imagine a world much like ours. This particular story takes place in the plains, very similar to ours in America. There was many groups of people there that lived among the land and in harmony. They cooked, they cleaned, they migrated, and hunted animals for their sustenance. There was one such tribe, very large, very wealthy. In that tribe was a poor boy. His family was killed several years earlier. He had no home, had no food. His clothes were ratted and torn. He was the very definition of poor. In this tribe was a princess. All the men of the tribe asked for her hand in marriage, and one by one, they were each turned down. Except for one boy, the poor boy, who was called Scars on Face. He was named so for the scar he had gotten on his cheek. Other than that, he was very handsome. After all the other men and warriors asked for her hand in marriage, he got the nerve. He gathered himself and went and asked for her hand in marriage. She smiled, looked down, and blushed. She replied, "I would love to marry you. You are good and kind. You would make a wonderful husband. But I am promised to our son. He guides over us, gives us light, and I was given to him as a child. If you want to marry me, you must go find him and ask for his blessing." Scars on Face was elated. The very prospect of marrying the most beautiful woman in his tribe filled his heart. But the journey ahead he knew was long and hard, and he had no guarantee that he would ever make it. Scars on Face took a couple days to think about his predicament, while the other men and warriors took off to go on great hunts to bring food back to the tribe. Scars on Face went to the river and helped the women wash their clothes. It was all he was allowed to do. While he was washing clothes, he had decided he was going to speak to the sun and get his blessing. The men came back soon after. As usual, they mocked him, called him Scars on Face, mocked his clothes, his lack of house, his lack of weapons, and his lack of a horse. As usual, Scars on Face never paid any attention. He packed up what little food he could in a cloth, tied it up, and started walking west. Scars on Face traveled for days, weeks even, over the plains, over rivers, and over mountains. As he kept walking, his food bag became less and less. Not that there was much to begin with, and very little of it was good anyway. It had been mostly spoiled and molded when he left. As he walked across another set of plains, a wolf walked up to him. "Oh, brother, What brings you so far from home? Oh, Brother Wolf, I am looking for the sun. The woman I want to marry was promised to him at her birth. I am looking to ask for his permission to marry her. Do you know where he lives? The wolf sat down and looked at Scars on face. No, I know he lives out west, but I've never traveled that far. You might want to go see my friend the bear. Just keep heading west, and eventually you will find his den. Scars on face smiled. Thank you, Brother Wolf. Hopefully, one day, I will see you again. The wolf nodded and started walking again. Scars on face traveled for many more days. At this point, his food was all gone, his water skin was empty, and his moccasins had completely worn out. He looked for roots and berries, and occasionally was able to kill a small animal to feed himself. But yet, he continued on. After a couple more days, he come across a very large cave at the bottom of a small hill. As he approached, a very large brown bear walked out. "Ho, brother, what brings you this far?" Scars on face fell to his knees. "Oh, Brother Bear, have pity on me. I am looking for the sun. Do you know where he lives?" The bear sat down. "No, I do not. I have never traveled that far. I just know he lives out west." Scars on face started to weep. He had traveled so far, but at this point, his feet were bloody, bruised, and hurt with every step. He had no food or water. The bear took pity on Scars on face and gave him some berries and a fish he had caught earlier that day. Scars on face looked up, and through his tears he thanked the bear, and the bear looked back at him. "I wish you well on your trip, brother. I wish you the best of luck." Scars on face thanked the bear again and continued on his path. Before he got too far away, the bear stopped him. "Brother Scars on face, wait a moment. If you continue on your journey west, you will come across my friend, the badger. Perhaps he can help you. I know he travels far and wide." Scars on face thanked the bear again and continued on his journey. More days passed, and at this point, Scars on face had eaten what small food the bear was able to spare. He did find a small creek and refilled his water skin. The water was cool and refreshing. It greatly helped him in the heat of the day. Scars on face climbed up a small hill. He fell to his knees and looked at the sun above as it slowly marched across the sky. He cried out, "Oh sun, please help me. One of your betrothed has promised me her hand in marriage, but she belongs to you. I only want to be the best husband I can to her. Oh son, I am worthy. Please help me on my journey." Scars on face wiped the tears away from his face, got up, and started walking again. It was another 2 weeks before Scars on face come across a large mountain range. As he sat down in the shade and ate the handful of berries he found, a badger walked up to him. "Ho, brother, what brings you this far? I don't believe any of your kind have ever made it this far. What brings you here?" Scars on face goes, "Are you the badger? The bear's friend?" The badger smiled and climbed up on a rock near Scars on face's head. "Why, yes, I am." Scars on face goes, "Oh, badger, please tell me where the sun lives. I have traveled so far. I have no food or water, and my feet are greatly hurt." The badger smiled and pointed its paw up the mountain. You're close. The sun is just west of here. Climb this mountain, and he will be on the other side. Scars on Face thanked the badger and started climbing the sharp rocks that made up the mountain. As he climbed, the badger called out to him, "Brother Scars on Face, just on the other side of this mountain is my friend the Wolverine. He can help guide you a little bit further." Scars on Face nodded and continued his climb. The climb of the mountain range took 4 weeks. When he was at the very top of the mountain, it got cold and snowy. And all day and all night, Scars on Face shivered as he froze, only moving to stay warm and to get closer to where the sun lived. Eventually, Scars on Face made it down the mountain. At the base of it, he saw the Wolverine and he called out, "Brother Wolverine, the badger has sent me. Do you know where the sun lives?" The Wolverine walked over. "Yes, I do. Continue heading west. You are closer than you ever have before to finding him." Scars on Face thanked the Wolverine, and then he asked, "Brother Wolverine, do you have any food I may have? I am starving, and I haven't eaten in so long." The Wolverine left and come back with a small squirrel. "Here you go, Brother Scars on Face. This was going to be my lunch, but I could clearly see you need it more than I do." Scars on Face thanked the Wolverine and took the squirrel with him as he continued to walk. After a couple more weeks, Scars on Face came to a large body of water. He had never seen so much water before in his life. Waves gently lapped the shore, and it broke his heart. He fell to his knees and started crying, for he knew he could never swim such a vast distance. As he cried, 2 swans swam up to him. "Brother, what brings you so far out here, where none of your kind have ever been?" Scars on Face looked up through his tears and he goes, "Oh swans, I am looking for the sun. The woman I want to marry was promised to him, and I must ask for his permission to marry her. But I believe I can go no further, for I can't swim that great distance." The swans go, "We can carry you. It's not that far at all. We see the sun all the time." Scars on Face laughed as he cried, and he took the swans up on their generous offer. He waded into the water till he was waist deep. The swan swam up to either side of him, and he put each arm around each swan. And then slowly, they started swimming across the vast water. It was nighttime before Scars on Face reached the shore. As his feet touched the sand, the swans go, "The sun, he is just west of here. He is very, very close." Scars on Face thanked the swans, and he started walking up the small hill. This land was nothing like Scars on Face had ever seen. The trees were majestic and large. He found the base of one tree and lay down and went to sleep. He woke up the next morning with sunlight streaming through the leaves and on his face. He stood up and started walking. Eventually he found a trail and followed it. As he came out of the forest, he could see that there was a bluff to his right, and the trail veered. Scars on Face looked at the fork in the road and wondered which direction he should take. It was then in the high prairie grass he saw items. He walked over and saw it was a shield, a bow and arrow, and a spear. So exquisite he had never seen anything made so well. Scars on Face was a good person and knew that stealing something that wasn't his was very wrong. He promised himself he would find the person that would own these weapons, for they would have to know where the sun lived. It was then in the distance he heard a man cry out, and several large birds make a horrible noise. Scars on Face ran through the prairie grass until he came upon the large bluff. It was there at the cliffside he saw a man that looked just like him fighting off several birds that were far larger than him. Scars on Face ran, picked up a rock and threw it at the birds. He ran to the man's side. After several hours, they defeated the birds. When it was over, they were both bloody and cut and bruised. The man looked over at Scars on Face. "Who are you, brother? I have never seen your kind here before." Scars on Face looks at the man and replies, "I am looking for the sun. The woman I want to marry was promised to him. Do you know where he lives?" The man smiled and goes, "Yes, I do. The sun is my father. My name is the Morning Star." Scars on Face couldn't have been more happier. After all this time traveling, all the hardships, the hunger, the pain, he had finally made it to where the sun lived. Morning Star slapped Scars on Face on the back. "Come, my mother would want to hear about this, and you will be able to meet my father." Together they walked and come across the weapons again. Morning Star looked at Scars on Face. "You did not take these?" Scars on Face shook his head no. "No, they were not mine to take, but I did promise to find the person that owned them." Morning Star goes, "These are my weapons, and I thank you for not taking them." They collected the items and started walking. It was almost sunset when they reached a magnificent lodge, great in scale and in splendor. An older woman ran out crying. She hugged the Morning Star and she screams, "My son, where did you go?" He gently pushed her back and goes, "Mother, I went to go kill the birds that had killed so many of my brothers." His mother was very upset about this. "You were told to never go there, that it was dangerous." Morning Star smiled and goes, "I have this man to thank. In my greatest need, he came and helped me. He even come across my weapons and did not take them." The woman walked up and grabbed Scars on Face's hands. "Morning Star is my last son. I could not imagine life if he was taken as his brothers were. Thank you. Thank you for saving my son." "Why are you here, so far away from your home?" Scars on Face looked at the woman. "Woman, I am looking for the sun's permission. The woman I want to marry was promised to him." She smiled and put a hand on his cheek. "The sun is my husband, for my name is the moon." The woman smiles. "I will introduce you to my husband after dinner. Come." Scars on Face walked into the lodge. It was there he was bathed, cleaned up, and new clothes was given to him. Scars on Face marveled at all of it, for these clothes were exceptional, and he had never worn anything so comfortable and fine. They ate dinner, and Scars on Face looked around nervous. "Is the sun coming?" The moon smiled and answered, "He will be here very, very soon." It was then a great light came from the front door. In walked in a man, glowing with gold light. The man walked in and smiled. "And how is my family today?" The moon got visibly upset. "Our son went to where he shouldn't have, and he was almost killed by the large birds there." The son looked concerned and looked over at his son, Morning Star. "Is this true, son?" Morning Star hung his head down. "Yes, father." The son scolded Morning Star. "You know you are forbidden there. Many of your brothers died trying to kill those birds. Morningstar looked up and goes, "This time I wasn't alone. That man over there, scars on face, he saved me." The sun looked over and saw scars on face. "Is this true?" Scars on face nodded yes. The sun walked over to Scars on face. He gently smiled and said, "I can never repay you for saving the life of my only son." And Scars on face looked up and goes, "There is one thing you could do for me." The sun smiled again and goes, "We shall talk after dinner, and then I will grant any wish you have." The sun retired for a couple hours eating his dinner and resting after his long day of traveling across the sky. When that was done, he called Scars on face to come see him. Scars on face walked in with complete reverence. He kneeled in front of the sun god and stayed silent. The sun looked at him. "As I said, you have saved the life of my only son. What can I do for you?" Scars on face looked up. Scars on face looked up. "Oh son, the woman I want to marry was promised to you. I am here to ask for your permission to marry her." The sun looked at Scars on face. "I know what woman you are speaking about. She is very kind, very intelligent, and would make a wonderful wife. For saving my son's life, you have my permission. Come forward." Scars on face got up, slowly walked over to the sun. It was then the sun took his hand and gently cupped Scars on face's cheek. A light shone out in between his fingers, and a warm glow enveloped that side of Scars on face's face. When it was done, and the sun removed his hand, the scar on Scars on face's cheek was gone. The sun looked at him. "This is proof that you have received my blessing." Scars on face was beyond happy. He thanked the sun and stayed overnight. When he left the next morning, the moon had given him even more clothes, finer than what he was wearing currently. Morning Star gave Scars on face the weapons that he had found the day before. And then lastly, in the pre-dawn light, the sun walked over and handed Scars on face the reins to one of his great horses. "This horse, one of many that carry me across the sky. You shall be home in no time at all." Scars on face thanked all of them. He got on his horse and took to the sky. It did not take long at all, for the sun was true to his word. The horse landed in the village, and all the villagers looked at Scars on face with complete shock. "Who is this man?" they asked each other. "Where did he get such fine weapons and clothing? Where did he get that horse? It is magnificent above everything else." Scars on face rode his horse slowly through the village. The tribe chief walked out of his tent. "Hello, stranger. What brings you to our land?" Scars on face hopped down and walked to the chief. He smiled and he goes, "You do not recognize me? I am Scars on face." The villagers were stunned. But sure enough, as they looked at him closer, they could tell it was the same boy that lived in their village, but his scar was gone. The village chief looked at him. "This is astounding. What happened to your scar?" Scars on face looked at the chief and says, "Your daughter has promised to marry me, but only after I got the permission from the sun. He took off my scar to prove that he has indeed given his blessing." blessing. The chief looked at Scars on Face and smiles. I see it has been done. You do have the sun's blessing. You shall marry my daughter by the end of today. And so that's what happened. Nearing sunset, as the sun was closing his journey that he took across the sky every day, Scars on Face married the princess. They lived happily ever after. They lived a long and fruitful life. Eventually, Scars on Face became the chief in his own right and guided the tribe to great things. He was also true to his word and was the best husband he could have been to his now wife. Scars on Face and his wife ruled the village for many years. It greatly prospered and happiness ruled the land.